the motion that Mr. Alt made fails, then we'd entertain a motion to do something different.
Can we hear what the motion is exactly?
Not exactly sure what it is. Charlie, can you state your motion clearly, please?
I move we, I don't know how to say it now, accept the 2018 calendar with the correction of the calendar to have all meetings starting at 9 a.m., both red and green, both Christmas colors could be turned into whatever.
Did you not want him to have it approve the holiday?
I asked before if you had that. He said wants the calendar approved with the times as he stated.
Oh, you're hitting at the bottom. I don't want to change our holidays. I don't think we have a real problem there. They're national holidays, and it's pretty hard to change them in this little
I
group.
want you to approve it.
Yeah, approve the holidays as listed.
So the motion is to accept the 2018, the changes to the 2018 calendar,
With the exception of changing.
so that all meetings start at 9 a.m. and approve the holiday and meeting calendar.
As presented.
as presented.
Does everyone understand the motion? Mr. Anderson?
Well, I got the motion. And that's a separate question. Maybe it's out of order too, but had this been voted on, what came out of policy, had been all wrong, say it would have passed, and it would have been wrong, then what would have happened? This is just what would have happened in January if we didn't rescind and properly,
It's a big can of worms, isn't it? Mr. Lemay, you had a question?
I just want to be clear.
Has there been a second yet?
Yes, there
There's
has.
been a second. Okay.
You want to?
Then I want to remind especially the gentleman on the policy and procedure that the words we use are important. Back in May, I asked the Policy and Procedure Committee to consider scheduling some of the board meetings in the evening. They came back with absolutely no suggestions. Leave it exactly as it is. Last month, when the full board changed the full board meetings to 6 o'clock, then there came the word of compromise. Now, since they've pulled that or undid what we did last month, there's no compromise again. Going right back to 100% all at 9 a.m. The people that use the word compromise don't understand the word compromise.
Mr. Anderson?
I understand the word compromise. Just choosing not to use it. You know what, I'm going to compromise. I'm not saying some of the stuff I want to say, but this, you can't vote in June whenever you want to reconsider it. It said clearly you have to do it a year in advance. So, I'm not going to compromise a damn bit to do it in June. It's irrelevant. Now we're here.
Mr. Whitlow?
I think this is an example, just an example of why people do not like politics. And I think we've hit a new low.
That's really saying something.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll on Mr. Alt's motion.
Crowe? No. Curtis?
Yes.
Asbargen? Johnson? No. Lemay?
No.
McGinnis?
No.
McTaggart? Yes. Apple? Yes. Persley?
No.
Raymond?
No.
Sure?
Yes?
Johnson. Barron.
We're voting on Charlie's amendment to make it 9 o'clock meeting. Yeah.
Bills.
Yes.
Bowman.
No.
Kokenauer.
No.
Tied?
8-11, that motion failed.
Mr. Alt's motion fails, so we're left without approving the schedule for the coming year.
I move we present it as presented on the calendar sitting in front of us.
I second.
Second that.
It's a motion to approve the schedule based on the calendar that everyone has in front of them. Are there any questions or comments?
I got a comment. The art of compromise is a tricky subject. When both sides aren't happy, that's a good compromise. And that's something this board really needs to work on. This is ridiculous. I'm assuming that everybody in this room is 18 years old because what I see is a bunch of children. And this is absolutely ridiculous, and everybody needs to remember they are here to serve citizens, not themselves. That's all I have to say. This is ridiculous.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I do. I forgot to turn my mic on. So, too bad. Hopefully it's on the recording.
I heard you clear back there.
Good.
Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Curtis.
Yes.
Hasbargen.
Yes.
Johnson. Yes. Lemay.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Persley.
Yes.
Raymond.
Oh, yes.
Shore.
No.
Sticknot.
No.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
No.
Anderson.
Yes.
Barons.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crow. Yes. 16-3, motion carried.
That motion carried. I think we have the calendar approved for the coming year. Now we can vote on the rest of the report. Are there any questions or comments on the rest of the report? Are there any questions or comments on the rest of the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Hasbargen. Johnson. No. Lemay.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Persley.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Sticknot.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Barons.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crow. No. No. Curtis.
Yes.
17-2, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your committee to whom is referred finance will beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on December 7th, 2017 at 9 a.m. Members present: Anderson, McTaggart, Alt, Bills, Curtis, and Raymond. Sherry Johnson was absent. Also present: County Board Chairman John Schur, Finance Director Anita Speckman, Treasurer Mindy Kuhn-Hagen, County Clerk Lisa Fancher, Supervisor Assessments Bob Yergler, EMA Director Eric Sacey, ICPHD Administrative Assistant Cheryl Davis, Susie Warner with Homestar Insurance, Randy Schultz of Schultz Insurance, and County Board Member Larry Hasbargen. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Dan Raymond and seconded by Michael McTaggart to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. Randy Schultz with Schultz Insurance introduced insurance agent Greg Steffen to the committee. Schultz explained his agency has merged with Steffen's agency, but this has no effect on the county. The merger allows access to more companies. Steffen has a background in municipalities. Steffen's company, Compass, also insures ETSB. Schultz had no activity to report for the month. He is currently working with Tim Drury from Bliss McKnight and gathering information pertaining to loss control. Susie Warner with Homestar Insurance reported the Employee Benefits Fair was held last month for open enrollment, or any necessary plan changes. Warner will be on site December 13th to meet with the retirees from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. to answer any questions they may have on Medicare Advantage plan. The department heads gave their reports. They are as follows. Treasurer Mindy Coombs-Hagan distributed draft copies of the year-end Treasurer's Report. Finance Director Anita Speckman noted the GIS fund is overdrawn $31,579.70 as of 11/30/17. This was planned, and it relates to the fact that we are still paying the monthly $11,000 GIS fee. Once we are finished paying the monthly fee, the account will begin to accrue. Speckman said the account cannot end the year overdrawn or will cause an adjustment. To correct this, a transfer from the general fund into the GIS fund needs to be made in the amount of $31,600 effective to cover the amount. It was moved by Raymond and seconded by Charlie Alt to allow Finance Director Anita Speckman to transfer $31,600 from the general fund into the GIS fund effective November 30th, 2017, and reversed effective December 1, 2017. Roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. EMA Director Eric Stacey received the 2017 EMPG grant agreement. Stacey is waiting on the EOC Technology Grant. Supervisor of Assessment Bob Yergor reported board review is finishing up and complaints will be received until December 20th. Yergor stated the Senate did not take any action on House Bill 156. Speckman discussed the FY18 audit, I think it should have said. The internal control review is underway. Auditors will be on site December 18th through the 22nd and January 15th through the 19th. Speckman emailed the committee the financial policies for their review last month. The policies will also be sent to the applicable department heads for their review. The grant policies have to be approved in FY18 in order to comply with the new uniform grant guidance that comes from the federal government. Speckman distributed and discussed the cash trend worksheet. Speckman addressed a question asked to her prior to the meeting regarding sales tax. There is a sales tax line item, but this includes sales, use, and supplemental. Speckman said to avoid further confusion, she has changed the name of the account to read Sales Use Supplemental. Speckman explained the public safety tax as listed on the Treasurer's Report and the sales use tax. Speckman stated the trend for the public safety tax will follow sales plus use, but not supplemental. It was suggested Speckman contact the Department of Revenue for details on the public safety tax. The committee reviewed claims. Speckman informed the committee she has 2 additional claims that are not listed on the claim sheet. They are payable to Roger Schultz Insurance for workers' compensation policy in the amount of $33,508 and the property insurance policy in the amount of $36,644.25. Speckman said that the total premiums for the year for the property insurance will be $146,531. The amount budgeted was $160,000. The workers' compensation premiums will be $130,123 with a budgeted amount of $140,000. It was moved by Alt and seconded by Raymond to pay the finance claims, planning and zoning claims, and the additional claims to Roger Schultz Insurance subject to county board approval. Roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. During old business, Bills asked if a donation was made to FFA for their assistance during the recycling event. Speckman said no donation has been made. The recycling claim being paid is for the recycling vendor and an additional charge of $221 due to Iroquois Memorial Hospital bringing items to the event. Speckman said she spoke to Larry Hasbargen about the charge, and in the future we need to be clear about the event being a residential event. Hasbargen said the vendor spoke with the hospital about a separate time for them to drop their items off. Other businesses dropped off items also. This will not happen in the future. It was moved by Bills and seconded by Alt to donate $150 to the FFA for their volunteer work during the county-wide recycling event. Roll call vote was taken. Anderson, nay. McTaggart, aye. Alt, aye. Bills, aye. Curtis, aye. Raymond, aye. Motion carried. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Raymond and seconded by Bills to adjourn at 9:29 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted and signed by all members present, and I move for its adoption.
Motion on the floor to approve the Finance Committee report. Is there a second? Dr. Bill, second. Are there questions or comments about the report? Mrs. Crowe,
I'm just curious, what
can you
happened?
speak into your microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. What happened at the recycling event? I guess I wasn't clear that businesses couldn't take, it was just strictly residential. And what can we do to help our businesses as well?
Can you speak into your microphone, please?
I've spoken with the recycling men, and they said what they want to do is schedule a separate time for all the businesses in Watseka and come take care of them all at once, just themselves. That's what they want to do.
Are the businesses recycling computers and things,
Mostly,
TVs
yeah.
and that, or do they have
Mostly
special
computers.
equipment that requires special handling?
No, mostly computers. Screens, mostly screens.
Okay, just they have larger amounts, is that the issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a growing and evolving project. Stuff will work itself
We
out.
advertise properly next time that vendors won't be able to bring them. It wasn't put in the advertisement this time, it was my fault.
When I spoke with VLH, the vendor, what they told me is that they charge a higher rate for businesses. So typically that would be at a different rate than the 25 cents a pound that they charge for residential.
Are there any other questions or comments about the finance report?
Do we have a contract with them? No. They just agreed to come, pick up Brack's number of cents per pound.
Okay, we just call them and tell them when we would like them to be here, and if their schedule is open, they'll be here that time. If not, we have to schedule a time that it is open for them.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Johnson. Yes. Lemay.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Persley.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Sticknot.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes?
Anderson.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crow. Yes. Curtis.
Yes.
Hasbargen.
Yes.
Motion carried. Management, Mr. Barron.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, to your committee to whom was referred Management Services would beg leave to submit the following report on matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on December 4, 2017 at 9 p.m. It should be 9 a.m. Members present: Lyle Behrens, Charlie Alt, Hasbargen, Johnson, McGinnis, Awful. Kevin Bowman was absent. Also present: County Board Chairman John Schur, Finance Director Anita Speckman, Maintenance Supervisor Chris Drake, Superintendent of Veterans Assistance Jennifer Ingram, County Board Member Donna Crow, and Wendy Davis with the Times Republic. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Larry Hasbargen, second by Chad McGinnis, to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. Discussion was held on the need for increased office space for Veterans Assistance. Veterans Assistance would like to move into the previous Animal Control Office. They are in process of applying for someone to assist Superintendent of Veterans Assistance Jennifer Ingram in the office. Management Chairman Lyle Behrens explained the office they requested is currently used for negotiations, meetings, and storage. The committee will continue to look into the matter. Kellen Ballatino with Osram Sylvania spoke with the committee about lighting needs for the county. He has been in contact with Maintenance Supervisor Chris Drake and was able to put together a presentation based on their conversations. Osram Sylvania is a strategic partner of Constellation Energy. The Constellation program helps the county get updated energy services such as lighting for zero out-of-pocket costs. Constellation utilizes the energy savings it would be created from the lighting updated to pay for the project. The work would all be done by Sylvania Lighting. They also handle the removal and recycling of the old fixtures. A 10-year warranty is included. The total estimated project cost is $99,000 for all three buildings combined. Mr. Ballatino said the county is currently paying 6 cents per kilowatt hour. The estimated savings for the county after the update is $18,000 per year, and this will accrue for 10 years. Additionally, the update will reduce maintenance costs and reduce energy. Maintenance noted, Barron's noted the county is currently contracted with Homefield Energy until 2019. Ballatino explained Constellation Energy will fund the project up to 2 years in advance with the stipulation that the county is going to sign with them once the other agreement expires. Chad McGinnis asked if there would be any charges applied for a lighting assessment. Mr. Ballatino replied there is no initial cost and no obligation. It is moved by McGinnis and second by Sherry Johnson to allow Osram Sylvania to complete a full lighting assessment audit. Motion carried by a voice vote. An update was given on the county farm. Barron's reported the crop is off and soil testing company was notified. They plan to do their testing Saturday, December 2nd. Once the results are received, fertilizer letters will be mailed. The waste recycling survey was given to Hasbargen for completion. He's been involved in the county's recycling events. Maintenance Supervisor Chris Drake reported on the following. The oven in the jail was purchased and has been installed. Drake repaired windows at the USDA office. A faucet in the administrative center break room was replaced. A heat pump in the health department required maintenance. Barron suggested Drake look into an extended warranty for heat pump. Johnson asked Drake if he needed to renew his weed control license. Drake said he does not currently have a weed control license. Johnson said she saw advertising for local training and thinks it is something he and the board should look into as it is required. There is a fee for the license through the extension office. Drake said he was informed by the lawn mowing vendor that they would be doing more weed spraying next year. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Hasbargen and second by Barb Offel to pay the claims subject to county board approval. Motion carried by a roll call vote under old business. Barron's reported on the bicentennial event being held today at 12 p.m. at the courthouse. It was moved by Offel and second by Charlie Alt to adjourn the meeting at 9:25 p.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted. And I move for its adoption.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the management committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Curtis, second.
John? Now, it's not in the report, but it is on the agenda for changing the time. Do we do that separately? Yes. Okay. Okay.
Is there any questions or comments about the report?
Yes, I just have a question. Where's the $99,000 coming from? Has that been budgeted yet?
No, what that is that's the cost of the project. Sylvania would actually pay that cost, and what happens is we end up, the lighting will, our electric cost will go down. We sign up with Sylvania or Constellation Energy. They will charge us the amount that we are currently paying per year, so our cost stays the same while the energy usage actually goes down. So they take the savings of that energy cost to pay for it. So basically, up to that $99,000, yeah, or however the contract states it. And the $99,000 is a guesstimate right now. That's what the energy audit and everything that they're going to do.
So that's basically 5.5 years. That's basically
It
correct?
depending on
So once it
what
reaches
the energy savings is.
99,000, well, I guess this thing. Once it reaches the 99,000, we're even, right? We're not paying any more.
Then then the contract would, they're going to come back with the estimate or actual numbers, and then the contract will be drawn up according to that, so that at the end of that contract, they'll have gotten their money back, we'll have paid no more, and then I believe we're free to go on with a different contract. Am I correct with that, Anita? You don't look... Okay.
We would be locked in with them. The way we bid out our electricity right now, every 3 years or whatever, we would be locked in with Constellation and Sylvania for 5.5 years or however long it would be once we get their final proposal until the contract is paid in full. Then at the end of that time, we could once again put out bids for our electricity. But what would happen is we'd get a bill every month for our current run rate at the time of their proposal, whatever our current rate is, and they would keep all the savings. They would get the savings until the contract is paid off and apply it against the contract amount. Once it's done, then we could once again open up bids for our electricity.
At the 6 cents kilowatt. Is that what it's supposed to be?
Or whatever
Well.
the contract is in there.
And then our kilowatt rate's not going to go up?
We don't have the final proposal
Yeah.
now, but
Okay.
preliminarily, that's what we said.
Yeah, and all this was to go ahead and let them do the proposal for us.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions about the management report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the vote, please.
Lemay,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Persley,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Sticknot,
Yes.
Whitlow,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Behrens,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Pokenauer,
Yes.
Crow, Curtis,
Yes.
Hasbargen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
That report is approved 19-0. Health Committee, Mrs. Awful.
John?
Oh, excuse me.
Okay,
You gotta see the
yeah, we,
change of the agenda.
yeah, it was inadvertently left off the agenda to change the management meeting. I don't think anybody wants to be here January 1st. So I just need a motion to move that meeting to 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 3rd, I believe it would be.
So moved.
Second.
Do you have any questions or comments about the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion's approved. Now we'll go to the Health Committee. Mrs. Awful.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your committee to whom was referred Health would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on December 5th, 2017 at 9:57 a.m. Members present were Crumweedy, Kokenauer, Awful, Persley, and Whitlow. McTaggart was absent. Also present, County Board Chairman John Schur, ICPHD Administrator Dee Shippert, ICPHD Director of Nursing and Social Services Vonda Pruitt, County Board members Larry Hasbargen and Marvin Sticknoth, and Wendy Davis with the Times Republic. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Kevin Kokenauer and second by Awful to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. ICPHD Administrator Dee Shippert reviewed the grants and contracts spreadsheet with the committee. Shippert noted the only changes to report were for the Illinois Tobacco-Free Communities Program and the Safe Drinking Water contract. The Tobacco-Free Program was finalized November 7th and the Safe Drinking Water contract was signed December 4th. The committee reviewed the program summary report for fiscal year 17, and Shippert also provided the numbers for fiscal year 16. Shippert discussed the relationship between ICPHD and animal control and why their relationship is so vital to the health of our citizens. The animal control is regulated by the Illinois Department of Agriculture. The Animal Control Act 5 ILCS 5 reads, it shall be the duty of the administrator or the deputy administrator through sterilization, humane education, rabies inoculation, stray control, impoundment, quarantine, and any other means deemed necessary to control and prevent the spread of rabies and to exercise dog and cat overpopulation control. Shippert distributed a copy of the Illinois Reportable Diseases List. The list states the number of days or hours in which the diseases must be reported to the local health departments. For example, any rabies human cases or rabies potential human exposure and animal rabies must be reported as soon as possible during normal business hours, but within 24 hours. The mandated reporters include veterinarians and other persons having knowledge or a known or suspected carrier of a communicable disease. Shippert said that this includes the animal control warden because they have the knowledge of suspected exposure. Shippert reminded the committee that the board voted to collect money for the registration of dogs. To register a dog, you must show proof of a rabies vaccination. No proof is required of dogs' living conditions. Animal control is in place for the prevention and spread of rabies. At the last health meeting, Shippert stressed the importance of needing a veterinarian for the county. Shippert told the committee that it is very important for them to have all the information they need before they make a decision on who is going to handle animal control and whether or not we have a full-time veterinarian. ICPHD Director of Nursing and Social Services, Vonda Pruitt, and Shippert explained the process of the investigation of a bat bite. Now, it's been brought to my attention that there needs to be a correction there, that it should be a bat exposure or dog bite. The bite report or potential exposure report is received within 24 hours and reviewed. Pruitt contacts the bite victim and asks a series of questions and informs them of the quarantine process. Shippert said it is the job of the warden to keep track of the 10-day quarantine for that animal if the animal is quarantined at home. By law, the owner has to have the animal examined. Health Chairman Troy Crumreedy noted the animal control process, along with the veterinarian and warden, has always operated smoothly until these past couple of years. Shippert agreed, stating for years the county has had a warden that completed the necessary tests in a timely manner. If there is ever a time when Shippert has not received a report, she contacts Animal Control Administrator Dr. Youssef and he responds immediately. It is essential for Iroquois County to have a warden that will handle these cases immediately. Kokenar stated that the Animal Control Administrator is responsible for the warden and should be following up to ensure items are done in a timely manner. Shippert agrees with this statement. However, staff members should know what is expected of them on a daily basis. Kokenauer asked that more information regarding animal control be discussed at the board meeting. Schur told the committee that as long as there is threat of litigation, the committee has to be careful of what is discussed. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Awful and second by Kokenauer to adjourn at 10:43 a.m., all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
I called Julie. She's in control, has been in control of animal control in Kankakee County for 18 years, and she's not a veterinarian. She is certified to euthanize and have the controlled substance on site. It was done with a 2-day class. She gives antibiotics and treatments with direction to the vet that comes once a week, more often if needed. Pays them $110 a week for 1 day. Peoria Animal Control, Sangamon County Animal Control, Macapon County Animal Control, Hoopston Animal Control do not have a vet as administrators. Julie has bats brought in, sends them off, and has results back in 24 hours. All dog bites are reported to Health Department and properly followed up upon. She's not a vet, never has been.
Are there any other questions or comments about the Health Committee report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart. Awful,
Aye. I mean here. Yes. One of them.
Hersley,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Sticknot,
Yes.
Whitlow,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Anderson, Barron,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Kokenauer, Crow, Curtis, Hasbargen, Johnson, Manich,
Yes.
18-0.
That report is approved 18-0. Tax Committee, Mr. Stickney.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your committee to whom was referred tax would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on December 5, 2017 at 9 a.m. Members present were Sticknot, Crumweedy, Kokenauer, Awful, Persley, and Whitlow. McTaggart was absent. Also present, County Board Chairman John Shearer, Finance Director Anita Speckman, State's Attorney Jim Devine, County Clerk Lisa Fanger, Supervisor of Assessments Bob Yergler, Treasurer Mindy Coots Hagan, IPC ICPH Director, or Administrator D. Shippert, Animal Control Administrator Dr. Youssef, former Animal Control Warden Jamie Fanning, County Board members Donna Crow, Larry Hasbargen, and Sherry Johnson, Wendy Davis with the Times Republic, and Carl Gerdovich with WGFA. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Offeld and seconded by Persley to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. Chairman Sticknott reminded the committee that those in attendance that when the board was seated a year ago, they voted unanimously to conduct meetings under Robert's Rules of Order and will attempt to do so today. The committee reviewed claims. It was moved by Jed Whitlow and seconded by Offel to pay the claims subject to county board approval. Motion carried by a voice vote. Sticknott noted the rules pertaining to public comments are if you have spoken on a subject within the last 2 months, you must wait 2 months. Each person is allotted 5 minutes to speak. During public comments, County Board member Larry Hasbargen stated he has submitted FOIA requests to show that Animal Control Administrator Dr. Youssef has euthanized 116 dogs before former Animal Control Warden Jamie Fanning was hired. Youssef is paid $75 per dog. Also, Fanning has been referred to as a contracted employee, but has never had a contract. Hasbargen said this was known by County Board Chairman John Schur. Iroquois County failed to provide her a contract. State's Attorney Jim Devine was to draw up a contract but failed to do so, and this made her an at-will employee. Also, during public comments, Fanning stated within the last year she has not had any meetings or discussions regarding her job performance. No documentation has been provided to her regarding her job performance either. She was forced to sign a form she didn't agree with during her first couple of months on the job. She didn't believe she was completely responsible for the situation but signed the form. When Fanning was terminated, she requested documentation of her job performance but has not received anything as of yet. Fanning discussed issues she had while working with Dr. Youssef regarding exams not being performed on dogs that needed medical care. Fanning referred to one instance involving a dog that was picked up and needed immediate medical attention. Dr. Youssef was contacted right away. Fanning said she has information from a trustworthy source that no exam was performed on the dog, and when she arrived at the clinic several days later, the dog was laying in urine feces. Fanning provided photos of the dog to the committee. Fanning told the committee Dr. Youssef's excuse for not completing the exam was because of the age of the dog. Also, the dog was microchipped, but the owner could not be found. Eventually, the dog was euthanized due to its condition, and Fanning agreed this was the humane thing to do in this situation. Fanning said she has photos of other dogs that went through the same treatment, and she can provide them to the county at the county board meeting. Lastly, Fanning pointed out that State's Attorney Jim Devine reported to WGFA that it was Youssef's responsibility to make sure the county is licensed, but he failed to do so. County Clerk Lisa Fancher informed the committee of 10 parcels of various areas of the county, including Papineau, Donovan, Watseka, Anarga, and Spring Creek, that have been sold through the delinquent tax process. It was moved by Crumweedy and seconded by Kogenauer to approve the resolutions and deeds acquired through the delinquent tax process. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. The department heads gave their monthly reports. County Clerk Lisa Fancher reported the county board will be approving a liquor license for an establishment that is taking over the bar and restaurant at Lakeview Country Club. They have made changes and are filing for a 6-month 1 a.m. license. Finance Director Anita Speckman updated the committee on the transition on the dog licensing. It has been moved to the Finance Department. A portal has been installed which allows for payments to be accepted online. Animal Control Director Dr. Youssef gave his report for November, which included 7 dogs picked up and brought to the clinic and 6 dog bites. Dr. Youssef responded to Fanning's statements, noting that it is the responsibility of him and his staff of nurses to run physical exams on the dogs coming to the facility. If Fanning brings the dog to the clinic after hours, Dr. Youssef runs a physical exam to determine if the dog requires treatment, should be euthanized, or needs to be transferred. Dr. Youssef said these decisions are based on his professional judgment and evaluations as a veterinarian and are not to be determined by the animal control officer. In regards to the dog Fanning was referring to, the dog was old but was not showing any signs of pain. The dog was microchipped, but the owner could not be located. When no one claimed the dog after a certain number of days and the dog began showing signs of pain, the dog was euthanized. Dr. Youssef said his responsibility as animal control administrator is to also prevent the spread of disease to the public. Dr. Youssef works very closely with ICPHD administrator and the Public Health Department. County Chairman John Schur spoke to the committee about last month's tax meeting where information was presented on animal control warden position. Schur distributed the county board meetings from the February 11th, 2014 meeting. The tax minutes read as follows. In the past, the animal control warden was paid as an employee, but will now be paid out of the service contracts line item. It was moved and seconded to recommend to the Finance Committee to amend the budget to move warden salaries to service contracts. Motion carried by a voice vote. Schur also provided minutes from the Finance Committee which showed the budget change as recommended by the Tax Committee. Schur said this position has since received a 1099 rather than a W-2 and no withholding for Social Security, Medicare, or federal and state income taxes taken out of their checks. Schur also asked the committee if they are in agreement that the position of the warden is a contractor and not an employee. Kokenauer asked if a contract is in place for Fanning. Schur answered a written contract is not in place and is not needed. Dr. Youssef stated he was very clear with Fanning that she would be a contractor and not an employee. Schur continued that contractors are not covered by the county's policy and procedure manual. As a department head, Dr. Youssef has had the authority to decide Fanning's services were no longer needed. Lastly, Schur told the committee that the tax committee does not have the authority to review or reverse actions of this type taken by a department head. County Board member Sherry Johnson addressed Schur and the committee stating that even though Fanning was a contracted employee, the harassment should still be addressed. Johnson said she would like to know Iroquois County's stance on harassment in the workplace. Johnson stated Schur was spoken to by Fanning regarding the way she was treated by Dr. Youssef. Sticknot noted he was there too, and the complaint was that Fanning couldn't get along with Youssef. Fanning corrected Sticknot, stating that was not the complaint she made. Johnson asked for documentation from the meetings held and asked them to be presented to the tax committee for review. Sticknot asked Devine if they were required to do so. Devine answered much of what has been discussed is he said, she said. The handbook does not cover this topic, and we are no longer using Fanning's services. Johnson said we have set the precedent in Iroquois County that if anyone is being harassed, the board will not do anything about it because we cannot define harassment, and we cannot define if they are an employee or not. For clarification, Kokenauer asked Devine if job performance records needed to be submitted to the tax committee for review, and if denying Hasbargen and Johnson access to a meeting involving Fanning was acceptable. Devine replied the records are the responsibility of the department head. Also, Dr. Youssef did have the right to deny access to the meeting. Fanning noted that per the Department of Labor and Fair Standards Act, receiving a 1099 does not make her an independent contractor, and there are many reasons to believe she was misclassified. Sure explained contractor status is based upon the board's decision in February 2014, as he referenced earlier in the meeting. Speckman said she did an analysis in 2014 in terms of the position using IRS Bulletin 15A. This outlines the differences between an employee and an independent contractor based on various questions. The decision was based on how the position functions. Another example of a contractor is Area Wide, our IT provider. They charge the county an hourly fee for their services. Hasbargen asked Speckman if Area Wide has a written contract. Speckman answered they do not have a contract. They bill on a time and material basis. She keeps a service log of what she has requested them to do and compares the log to the bill each month. No discussion was held on the iCare presentation that was held last month. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Crumweedy and seconded by Awful to adjourn the meeting at 9:44 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectively submitted, signed by those present, and I move for its adoption.
Motion on the floor to approve the tax committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Awful, second. Are there any questions or comments?
I just wondered, I did do a little research and found out some definitions for harassment. And the legal definition is unjustifiable conduct, typically persistent and repetitive, aimed at an individual that causes distress or discomfort. So I'm just wondering if the tax committee is going to speak with Beth Utke, who did report to the committee that she felt that she was also harassed by Dr. Youssef.
My committee has not directed me to do that.
So do you feel that perhaps maybe you should investigate that? There is a policy in the handbook, and she is an employee.
I don't think I should, no.
So we're going to carry on that tradition then. Even when they are an employee, we're not going to address harassment issues.
I don't think I agree with you.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Morgan.
I spoke with Anita about this analysis she did, and I asked her to see her analysis. She said she may have signed a piece of paper saying it was a contract employee. And I'm asking again, I'd like to see that analysis.
She said what? What did you say?
She said she may have signed a piece of paper saying she's a contract employee. No analysis listed, evidently. Anita, I've talked to Anita.
Anita signed the paper?
She said she did. I don't know if she did or not. Also,
I don't have a signed piece of paper saying that what I wrote down. I said I reviewed Bulletin 15A and used that to determine in 2014 whether or not it was a contract position or an employee position. That is what I did.
and when I asked,
I did not have any official document. I did not put that in anyone's files at the time. I didn't have anything official. I regularly, as a part of my job, research IRS regulations and make a recommendation to this board based on my professional opinion. That's what I did in 2014.
and when I asked for that analysis, she said, I may have signed a piece of paper saying she's a contract employee. That's her, you did say that.
I don't believe I would have said that.
Yeah. And area-wide, she compares it to area-wide. Area-wide is a business. Are we saying Jamie is a business?
Yes.
Huh, I don't think so. I think you're wrong.
No, we're saying that she was a contractor. That was an action taken by the board.
That action could have been wrong, and it may be proved to have been wrong.
Any other questions or comments about the report?
In regards to Dr. Youssef still not being an appointed employee. Are we ever going to readdress that, or is that not something that you feel needs to go before the committee either?
That's not my responsibility. That's the chairman of the board's responsibility.
Mr. Chairman?
That matter will be brought up in the future.
I would encourage the tax committee to revisit the animal control issue from a financial perspective, to analyze whether it's necessary to have a full-time vet. We used to function quite capably with a part-time veterinarian, Dr. Fennell, and an animal control warden who took care of them. I want to also bring up the fact that animal control is just not about dogs and cats. I'm going to recall a situation where a monkey came to live here, not here, was taken into custody that cost the county $2,500. There's the additional issue of bats. There's the additional issue of dogs being present and being bred in homes where drugs abound for obvious reasons. And I think if the tax committee could back up or next budget process cycle and look at the costs and analyze that situation, that maybe we should start making decisions based on finance and what is best for the citizens and what's most cost effective. Additionally, I'm going to read from this. As the department head, Dr. Youssef had the authority to decide fanning services were no longer needed. Okay. Lastly, Scher told the committee that the tax committee does not have the authority to review or reverse actions of this type taken by a department head. Which leads me to the question, why was it necessary for the county board chairman and the tax chairman to be present on that Friday when Dr. Youssef was dealing with Jamie Fanning's termination and Larry and Sherry were not admitted? Why was not Dr. Youssef to simply deal with it solely?
Well, you're mistaken on one aspect of that.
Really?
Yes, I was not there.
Oh, no, that's right. I stand corrected, Marvin.
Thank you.
You were moving around in the morning. That's right. That's right.
I think I was home doing my job.
Are there any other questions or comments about the report? And the clerk will call the roll.
We got one. Mr. McGinnis.
Your letter, former warden Fanning is not an employee. That is correct. Okay, she is a contractor. A lot of the issue is how people feel she was handled or dealt with, how she was treated. I would question why contractors receive write-ups and warnings, because if a contractor doesn't provide good service, you just end it. Number two, yes, the department heads have that authority to decide if contractors' services aren't needed. That is something that department heads need, and they should have that authority. Number four, about the county board and tax committee not having authority to review or reverse actions taken, somewhat correct. However, Dr. Youssef is appointed by this board through the tax committee, because that's where animal control is. So the tax committee can review his actions in the process of determining if his services are still needed. And I'd like to reiterate, Ms. Crow, she pointed out the financial piece. That is the strongest piece that has to be looked at, is the fiduciary, is for what we spend, is that the best use of our money? And there are other models out there where a warden kind of runs the show like Kankakee, but they have a vet that comes in once a week and they have a process, or the others. I would like to remind the tax committee it is their job to make sure we are complying with our animal control ordinance, which does state that the appointment is for 2 years. So one of two things needs to happen. Dr. Youssef needs to be brought back up for reappointment, or a process working with policy and procedure needs to be developed to amend our county code to remove the 2-year appointment requirement. One of two things has to happen. We can't just keep kicking the can, and yes, the AG opinion about de facto status we keep paying, yes, we can keep doing that because we have been. But we need to not avoid the issue of our county code needing to be complied with or amended so that we are in compliance. Why the previous board put a 2-year appointment, I don't know. Some of you have been on longer. Maybe you know why. But that is the county code. So I would recommend that the tax committee have the reappointment put on their agenda to reappoint Dr. Youssef, or work a process out where we amend our county code. But either way, Dr. Youssef and his actions as director, because he is appointed by this board, and any other department head that is appointed by this board, their actions can be reviewed by the appropriate committee to determine if their services should be retained. So, in part, I agree with Mr. Schur. He makes some good points about not having the rights of the employee and policy procedure manual contractors. That is correct. That is our policy. So if you don't like it, then a motion process needs to be made to change it. And so I would just encourage the tax committee to have that on their agenda, because as a committee member, you can place items on, and as a board member, you can request to have items placed on an agenda. That is why we vote to approve the agenda, to either strike or keep it. So highly, highly encourage the tax committee to do due diligence in making sure we comply with county code. And it sounds like we are in the process of getting our license to comply with the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it was incorrect to say that we don't need a license back in November.
That's debatable.
Okay, but we are in that process. So, but I just wanted to point out, some of the things that I agree with, and you are correct. But tax committee, you need to deal with this, and you need to present something to this board so we can end this. And Beth Yuki was an employee, is an employee, and she does fall under the employee policy and procedure manual, and something needs to be done with the harassment complaint to validate, or he said, she said, and some form of action to prevent in the future by any employee. We just don't kick it down the road and ignore it. So thank you.
Mr. McGinnis, you've made a number of statements that are not correct. If you show us where it says in the county code that the tax committee has the authority to appoint the animal control administrator.
You are correct. The county code actually says the animal control reports to the health department.
No, you're not answering that question.
The county board approves the appointment of the animal control.
The county board appoints or the county board approves? Which are you saying?
We approve the appointments, the recommended appointments.
Who makes the appointment?
You can recommend it.
Who makes the appointment?
The county chairman can recommend the appointment for.
Not the tax committee.
So when are you going to recommend the appointment?
Probably with some of the fewer guys down and some of the questions are clarified.
I would like the.
Is that satisfactory?
No, we can talk. I'm just concerned we do not comply with county code, and I'd like to know your plan as chairman to make sure we comply with code. Well, this one we know. What is your plan, sir, to comply with county code?
I call to question, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to review a little bit what's gone on here. This all started in the July meeting when Mr. Hasbargen stated that there were some irregularities at the animal control facility. The next meeting, he brought in someone who had worked there over the weekend and commented about a lot of things that were going on that this person didn't like. All of them are pretty trivial, and it's a matter of judgment. Talking about investigating any of this stuff, I have gone to Newton County's commissioners' meetings twice investigating an alternative for animal control. I've been there twice. I've gone down to Vermilion County and I've met with their county board chairman, Mr. Marin. I met with their attorney, Mr. Donahue. I met with Tony Van Camp, who runs the facility. Back in probably August, Mr. Hasbargen stated that Dr. Yusuf sent carloads of animals to Vermilion County to a kill facility. I have the information about what they do down there. Their policy is that they adopt out animals unless they are too ill, and if they are too ill, they have to be put down, or if they're too vicious, they have to be. But their policy is to adopt them out. I have the statistics that someone can look at afterwards that show how our dogs were treated. There were very few that had to be put down because they were ill or vicious. We have the record there that shows it. What Mr. Hasbargen said is not true. I've been out to animal control numerous times. I've looked to see what he does. He is complying with the law to the letter. Animal control is not for the animals. Some people think that animal control is to take care for the benefit of the animals. It's for the health of the people in this community. I'm really not sure why Dr. Yusuf is being harassed by some of our board members. Maybe there needs to be a harassment policy on that. I've reviewed Jamie's job performance. I've looked at it and I was sorely disappointed. She has underperformed to an astonishing degree. After I saw what had happened, it's Dr. Yusuf's responsibility to replace her. But I told him he had my blessing. So, bombshell. Partly my fault. All this criticism towards him is unjustified. I don't know why he's being criticized. Maybe he's a good target. He immigrated to this country. He went through the legal process of becoming a citizen. He serves his community where he lives voluntarily. He serves this community. Maybe because he came from a third world country, maybe he makes a good target for harassment. I don't know. But at any rate, lately the harassment has been towards me because I'm chairman of the tax committee, and that's great. I welcome that because the attacks and the harassment, if they're against me, the bullying that's taken place here, I can take it. If it's concentrated towards me, then maybe it'll keep it from being directed towards you and you and you and you. So basically, I think this is all unjustified. I think that Jamie's performance will speak for itself when it comes out in the future. That's it.
Ultimately, sir, you and Mr. Schur should have reported the alleged harassment that was reported to you to this full board. We are a board. We're supposed to work together. You two chose to disregard that, not once, but twice. I have no ill will towards Dr. Youssef. I have only pointed out factual information in regards to things that have not been legally taken care of. And I would like to point out to you once again, as I have done in 3 other episodes, you are not a professional to evaluate an animal hospital or a veterinarian practice. That is done by the Illinois Department of Agriculture, to which Dr. Youssef is now under investigation. And yes, that is the truth. I am not speaking slander. I have no ill will towards anyone concerned about the entire thing. I believe that the law should take care of everything. You, my friend, chose to come to my office and bully me, as did Mr. Schur. So let's not go to the victim route here. It all plays out. We have to follow, as Mr. McGinnis has said time and time again, we have to follow a protocol. We have a book. We're supposed to follow it. I've asked the questions. You choose to ignore. That is on you. So yes, it is on you.
I still question how a contracted employee falls under that.
Mr. Sticknoff, can you provide this body a job description for this young lady?
I think that comes under a contractor. I'm not sure
Is there
that's necessary.
is there a job description?
No.
Then how would she know how to do her job? How would she know what's expected of her?
I assume she's instructed by Dr. Youssef.
Well, you're assuming. Most employees in most businesses and most entities have job descriptions, no matter what their position is.
I'm chairman of tax committee. Am I supposed to submit a job description to Mindy?
You need a job description. I need a job description. Mr. Chairman needs a job description. If we're just here flinging by the seat of our pants, that's wrong.
I think the information is out there from the state on how we're supposed to conduct ourselves.
Well, if she wasn't provided a job description, that's wrong. Simple as that.
Anyone else have any questions or comments about the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Awful. Yes. Persley.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Sticknot.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Barons.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Bowman. Okenauer.
Yes.
Crow. Yes. Curtis.
Yes.
Hasselbarger.
Yes.
Johnson. No. Louis.
No.
McGinnis.
Yes.
The motion's approved 15-2. Mr. Bills, IT committee.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee whom referred IT would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administration Center on December the 5th, 2017 at 10:53 a.m. Members present was Troy Crumwitty, Russell Bills, John Schur. Michael McTaggart was absent. Also present, Finance Director Anita Speckman, Michael Tabor with Area Wide, Public Health Administrator Dee Shippard, and County Board Member Marvin Sticknot, and Wendy Davis of the Times-Republic. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by John Schur and seconded by Russell Bills to approve the agenda. Motion carried by voice vote. During the public comments, Anita Speckman introduced Michael Tabor with Area Wide. to the committee. Mr. Tabor will serve as the new account manager due to Rusty Sowers leaving the organization. The review of the security assessments and substantial actions required the committee to enter into executive session. It was moved by Scher and seconded by Bills to enter into executive session at 10:58 a.m. under 5 ILC 120-2C, Section 8. Security procedures, school building safety and security, the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonable potential danger to the safety of our employees, students, staff, and public body. Motion carried by voice vote. It was moved by Bills and seconded by Scher to come out of executive session at 11:41 a.m. Motion carried by voice vote. It was moved by Scher and seconded by Bills to table the review of the security assessment and substantial actions. Motion carried by a voice vote. Speckman gave an update on Shelter Pro. She informed the committee that the dog license is now handled through the finance department. The position will convert back to a part-time position as it has been in the past. The software company recommends a portal that allows renewal of all licenses and payments of citations online. There is a 90% success rate with this method. The cost of the portal is $1,300. Speckman said that her goal is to have all the portal accept the payments by January 1st of 2018. The committee reviewed the acceptable computer use policy. The current policy in force was drafted by the former IT director. Speckman's stated verbiage has been added to the policy in accordance to the Local Records Act, and Area-Wide has reviewed the policy. This change was prompt due to the recent FOIA request and the questioning regarding authorized and unauthorized devices. The staff currently signs the policy during their new hire orientation. This policy does not apply to the county board members because they are not on the county network. Speckman said Area-Wide was working on a banner that would come across the screen when logging in for each user to agree to the terms before logging in. It was moved by Scher and seconded by Bills to amend acceptable computer use policy to read as follows. Connection of unauthorized devices to the county network stations, servers, or networks including but not limited to UBS drivers, cell phones, tablets, and laptop computers. Unauthorized devices are any device not purchased by Iroquois County or specifically approved for Iroquois County departmental use. Motion carried by voice vote. Speckman suggests when employees sign the policy, a copy is also given for their records. As there is no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Bills and seconded by Scher to adjourn at 12:03 a.m. or p.m. Motion carried by voice vote. All of which will be respectively submitted and signed by all present, and I would move for the adoption of this report.
Motion on the floor to approve the IT committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Curtis seconds. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Don?
On the acceptable computer use policy, I question in paragraph 3 where it says failure to adhere to the Iroquois County Board's acceptable use AUP may result in revocation or restriction of the user's access privileges and possible disciplinary action. And I'm wondering if the wording and/or termination should be added to that, because I think disciplinary action implies that you might get in trouble, but you might still have a job. And I think there might be a very real situation occur where you might get terminated on the spot. And I just wonder if anyone else thinks that wording should be added.
That matter has always been discussed. I think it's been identified that disciplinary action can include termination.
Was that, did I miss that in the minutes? Where was that discussed?
I believe the state's attorney is the one that identified that, and I can't recall that off the top of my head exactly what it was.
Donna, the only thing, sorry, John. Donna, the only thing I'd say, this is what we call a computer use policy. We can change this next month, we can add, like, that might be a good idea you got there. I don't know all that entails at this point, but again, on any changes there, I would want to go to our state's attorney and get legal advice on that. But next month, that's something maybe you want to get to this agenda if you feel it's necessary.
Well, John seems to be indicating that the word termination was discussed. So can you clarify that, either of you?
I cannot do that for you.
I didn't say that what you suggested isn't a good idea. I'm just simply saying that that was my understanding from the discussion. I've heard the state's attorney, offer an opinion on it, but I can't remember exactly what. If you think that should be included in there, I think we can put it on the agenda for the IT committee at our next meeting.
Would the IT committee discuss that, please?
Jed's got a comment. Jed.
The way that usually is addressed is up to and including termination. That's the clause generally behind that.
Try to get those notes down and get it in front of the committee next month to have those after the state's attorney reviews it.
Persley. Raymond. Shore. Stickney. Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt. Anderson. Aaron's.
Yes.
Dills. Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crowe. No. Curtis. Hasbarger. Johnson. Louis. McGinnis.
Yes.
Awful.
The motion is approved 14-2. Judicial and public safety, Mr. Barron.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your committee to whom was referred Judicial and Public Safety would beg leave to submit the following report on matters before them. Your committee met at the courthouse on December 6, 2017 at 3 p.m. Members present were Behrens, Curtis, Lemie, Awful, and Whitlow. Chad McGinnis and Donna Crowe were absent. Also present, Probation Supervisor Barb King, 911 Director Eric Raymond, County Board Chairman John Schur, County Board members Russell Bills and Larry Hasbargen, and Wendy Davis with the Times-Republic. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Barb Awful, second by Ernie Curtis to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. 911 Director Eric Raymond distributed the ETSB report for the committee to review. Raymond also told the committee he had 2 additional claims he will be submitting for payment. One claim is for Quality Solutions and the other was expenses for sending a telecommunicator to an IPSTA conference. Lastly, Raymond said overtime will be increasing in his department due to an employee being on FMLA leave for 12 weeks. Probation Supervisor Barb King reviewed the probation and court services with the committee. During public comments, County Board member Russell Bills expressed his gratitude to Sheriff Derek Hagan, Maintenance Director Chris Drake, Coroner Bill Cheatham, and members of the courthouse security for their assistance in the bicentennial flag raising event that was held on December 4th. The discussion on ETSB was tabled. The committee reviewed claims. It was moved by Jed Whitlow and seconded by Vince Lemie to pay the claim subject to County Board approval. The roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Lemie and seconded by Awful to adjourn the meeting at 3:11 p.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
Motion on the floor to approve the Judicial and Public Safety Committee report is our second. Mr. Halsted, are there any questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, clerk will call the roll.
Raymond. Short.
Yes.
Sticknot.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Barons.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Omenauer.
Yes.
Crowe. Yes. Curtis.
Yes.
Askebargen.
Yes.
Johnson. Yes. McGinnis.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Persley.
Yes. The motion is approved 15-0. Transportation and Highway Committee, Mr. Bill.
Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your committee who referred Transportation and Highway would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Iroquois County Highway Building on December the 8th, 2017 at 9 a.m. Members present was Bills, Alt, Crowe, Ashbargen, Johnson, and Chad McGinnis. Kevin Boltman was absent. Also present, County Engineer Joel Moore, County Board Member Marvin Sticknot, and Wendy Davis of the Times-Republic. The meeting was called to order. There was no public comment. It was moved by Larry Hashbargen and seconded by Donna Crowe to approve the agenda. That motion carried. The claims of financial reports for the month were reviewed. It was moved by Hashbargen and seconded by Johnson to pay the bills subject to county board approval. A roll call vote taken. Motion carried. County highway was $93,172. County bridge was $5,795. Township bridge was $9,071. County motor fuel tax was $23,886. And township motor fuel tax was $2,235. County Engineer Joel Moore and the committee discussed Moore's reappointment. Moore said his appointment expires in July and it is recommended that reappointment take place prior to July for the normal 6-year term. Moore's salary is determined by the Illinois Department of Transportation's salary schedule. It was moved by Crowe and seconded by Sherry Johnson to sign a resolution, the consent to reappoint County Engineer Joel Moore, and to adopt the resolution reappointing County Engineer Joel Moore for a term of 6 years. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. Moore noted that the new appointment begins on July 11th, 2018. As previously mentioned, the salary for Moore is determined by Illinois Department of Transportation. A salary agreement was approved last month, which notes we are paying 95% of recommended salary, and that the amount will be reimbursed. The agreement that was approved was dated for Moore's term through July 2018. The new agreement will reflect Moore's 6-year reappointment. It was moved by Charles Olt and seconded by Chad McGinnis to approve the agreement for the county engineer's salary based on the Illinois Department of Transportation salary schedule, which is 95% of the recommended salary. A roll call vote was taken. That motion carried. Moore distributed IDOT compliance reviews for Township motor fuel tax, Township bridge program, and the county motor fuel tax to the committee. Moore reported that there was no findings on the reviews. It was moved by Johnson and seconded by Hashbargen to file the IDOT compliance reviews with the county clerk's office. Motion carried by voice vote. Moore informed the committee he has been receiving an ample amount of calls regarding the Chapel Bridge and its status. Moore said he met with a company several years ago, and the estimates and the estimates he received to have the bridge disassembled was about $400,000. 400 to 500,000. Moore spoke with the Hutchison Engineering recently about his options because of the historical bridge. Hutchison Engineering was able to provide Moore with options for the bridge. The total engineering expense is approximately $297,000 with a total construction cost of approximately $2.5 million. Moore said no action is necessary today. He was just informing the committee on the information he had received. McGinnis suggested Moore provide a priority list from his perspective of what items need to be repaired. Crow stated that she would like for the public to know in depth that we have not forgotten about those bridges, and we will continue to look at options. Under old business, Moore provided the committee with copies of the snow removal policy and the spring posting policy. No changes were made to the snow removal policy. It was voted on last year and approved to change the spring posting dates starting at January 1 instead of the February 1. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Alt and seconded by Hashbargen to adjourn at 10:05 a.m. That motion carried, all which is respectfully submitted and signed by all members present, and I would move for adoption of the report.
Motion on the floor to approve the Transportation Highway Committee report. Is there a second? Mrs. Crowe, second. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Short.
Yes.
Stipnut.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bills. Hopenhour.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Asparger.
Yes.
Johnson. McGinnis.
Yes.
Alco. Yes. Persley.
Yes.
15-0.
We have motion to approve 15-0. Claims. We don't have a copy of the claims in front of them. Is there a motion to approve the claims? Mr. Ross, is there a second? Mr. Whitlow. Are there any questions or comments regarding the claims? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Stipnut.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Anderson. Barron's.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Hopenhour.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Asparger.
Yes.
Johnson. McGinnis.
Yes.
Alco.
Yes.
Persley.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. That motion is approved 15-0. Appointments, is there a motion to approve appointments? Mr. Anderson, is there a second? Mr. Barron? All in favor of approving the appointments, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Appointments are approved. Old business?
Old business? I'd like to make a comment about these things. I think we might have a pretty good system here. We spend a lot of money on it. But when you speak into it, you got to be close like I am. Can you hear this now?
Not as well.
You can't hear it, can you? You gotta get it, 2 or 3 inches from your fly trap. But please try to do so. I think it, again, I'm particularly hard of hearing. That was I worked, due to the environment I worked in for many years. But anyway, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other old business today? Seeing none about new business. We have a motion to approve the half-year liquor license for Single Stage Incorporated in Town of Rhoda.
So moved.
Mr. Bells, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded.
My neck of the woods.